Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
Welcome back to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. I'm Barbara Hardt.
And I'm Doug Armitage. And now for this week's news.
First, we'd like to extend a huge thank you to Cynthia Davis and Art DeVitalis for completing the podcast for the last 6 months. They started with an idea, made it a reality, and completed the process from interview to published content for 25 episodes. Cynthia and Art are moving forward with their own podcast called the Bosque County Blast, based in their home region of Bosque County, Texas.
Our intro music is performed by local band New Family Dog. Lead vocalist Jon Black Dog Ridnell says, "This song was inspired by a memory of a woman." Their new album is called Halo. It features Jon Ridnell, Miles Ridnell, Sally Van Meter, and Michael Wooten. You can find more information about Jon Ridnell at www.jonridnell.com.
This episode is brought to you by the Mineshaft Restaurant, the Very Nice Brewing Company, Honeydew Handyman Services, Mountain Man Outdoor Store, Hardt's Backhoe, the Levitt Street Market, Brightwood Music, and of course, the Mountaineer newspaper.
The Levitt Street Market is opened every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Central City. The market has several vendors offering fresh produce, pottery, jams, and jelly, JKQ barbecue, and more. Stop by 300 Gregory Street in Central City to check it out.
For all the wrong reasons, I guess. Pay high bills, fortune thrills, all the cocaine, booze, and pills. There ain't nowhere to turn to. 6 feet down the river wasn't for me.
For our lead story this week, here's reporter Jamie Lammers talking with Jon Ridnell, local musician, songwriter, and music teacher.
I'm Jon Ridnell, Black Dog, and my band is New Family Dog.
Is this a new band, or has it been around for a bit?
It's been around for a little while. Been doing it with my son for, 8-9 years now.
How did it all start?
I had my nickname's Black Dog, my stage name kind of, and that was the name of the band for a lot of years. And I was ready for something different, and my son was ready to play, and so came the New Family Dog. We've done 5 or 6 records, something like that. We got a single coming out on Dutch Records at the end of July. First anything on any kind of label ever.
You guys have booked a lot of gigs at the train cars coming up soon.
Yeah, we do a weekly Sunday thing.
Any particular reason why the train cars stuck out to you?
They've just been really nice to me, And it's a great location. It's pretty touristy gig, so a lot of tourists come and check it out. It's pretty cool. We have a new singer and New Family Dog, Melly Francis. We just started working with her, and she's amazing, so that's going really well. So we have a kind of an electric band, what I call the Family Dog String Band, which is kind of more acoustic, bluegrass-oriented folk music. And then we have a whole electric. New Family Dog is basically an electric funk. So we got a lot of stuff, a lot of gigs. The more entities you kind of work with. There's a lot of acoustic work in Colorado, the whole group, mountain bluegrass thing,
And were there any big inspirations that kind of shaped your style of music and how you guys play in live gigs?
I really got into jazz for a long time, so a lot of my heroes are jazz guys, But it's funny, I've kind of gone back to writing. I got into bluegrass a little bit, working with some of the on-the-mountain guys. Slowly it's kind of crept in, and now I'm basically writing folk songs right now. The record we got signed with is kind of an Americana, almost country music kind of thing. But now we're doing a record that's even more, it's like folk country. We do a lot of different kinds of music, basically. A lot of the acoustic music is in, Tony Rice. I love Tony Rice. Jazz influenced Wes Montgomery, Miles Davis. Rock and roll, like Allman Brothers, Little Feat, Hendrix,
How did your son end up getting involved in wanting to perform music?
He's been playing bass since, he was like 7. So by the time he got out of high school, he was pretty good and ready to work. And I needed a bass player, basically. So And we sing together. We have a whole kind of, harmony, family harmony sound that's pretty cool. And now Mellie's singing with us. Mellie was formerly with the Sweet Release, and now she's singing with us and adding a third part on the harmony and then singing some leads. She's great. So yeah, things are kind of on the upswing for sure.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with this record label.
Oh,
we
for sure.
We signed a licensing deal for film and TV, but they're putting out our singles too. So we're kind of on the label. So we'll see. Be cool to make some money off a song someday.
Has it always been a dream for you to make a career through music, or did music kind of come later in your life?
No, I'm 56. I've been doing it for 40 years, man. I've made a living probably 35 years now. So it's pretty cool to finally get a record deal. Something good actually happened for us during COVID. I actually had time to promote an album. I hired a publicist, and he got us a deal. So you can check New Family Dog on Spotify, and it's got the couple new singles on there. And so, yeah.
Anything else that you can think of that you would want to add, or any other gigs coming up that you want to advertise or anything?
I don't know. I think we're pretty good. The train car's fun. Jim's been great to us. And, I get to bring my dog, and he sits out the porch. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you so much, man. This was awesome.
No problem. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Jamie and Jon, for the music updates.
And now to the news desk. Peak to Peak musicians and artists, we're looking for you. Would you like a feature story in the Mountaineer? We cover all news of the Peak to Peak area, including business and artist profiles. We also offer features on our podcast, website, and social media. These are now completed in person with our journalists. We are your community newspaper. Interested? Email publisher@themountaineer.com to get on the list for upcoming editions.
The Mountaineer has advertising packets that include print, social media, online, and podcast. Online ads are included for $1 per week when you are advertising in print.
For our second story, Dango Rose will talk to Duke Rumley, founder of Sober AF Entertainment. Sober AF Entertainment acts as a voice for the sober community by creating sober sections at non-sober events. They also connect their communities with existing sober support groups.
All right, this is Dango Rose with the Mountaineer Everybody's Listening podcast. My guest today is Duke Rumley of Sober AF Entertainment.
Dango, thanks for having us. I greatly appreciate this opportunity to talk about our crazy nonprofit and how we're trying to do the impossible.
Well, I think it's really important what you're doing because it's providing fun, safe spaces for events, music, probably much more than I'm aware of right now, in a sober environment for people in recovery, I would take it, from alcohol or other substances. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very simple idea, right? It is sober fun. We're teaching people how to have fun sober. And we don't try to limit it to anyone. We just ask if you show up not high and not drunk, we got a place for you. And we then speak to the venues to get discounted seats. And we manage this sober support events. And the venue then gets to say, we're recovery friendly. And that's kind of our mission, is to build a recovery-friendly environment at sporting events, concerts, and music venues.
That's great. And I think, my section of this podcast is usually music-related, and it's very challenging to find music venues that essentially are sober-friendly because the whole model of the music industry, at least at some level, is alcohol sales.
We were learning. We're 3 years old, and we were just at Country Jam. So Country Jam gave us this beautiful tent, and we could set up a sober section that was very supportive. We got volunteers, but they didn't want us doing any live interviews. So the local news heard about us, and they wanted to do a live interview. And we get it. This is their multi-million-dollar business. And they don't want someone saying it's not a safe environment for drug overdose or underage drinking. So we don't. We're just like, hey, look, we're here promoting sober fun. And that's as simple as it gets. And so we've kind of learned from that experience that whenever we do go to other music festivals, and we got a bunch on the docket, that we explain to the promoters and the owners that, we're just about creating sober fun and showing people how to have fun sober and to find a sober wingman or a sober wing woman if they need one to kind of get through that event.
That's great, Duke. And it is possible to have fun sober because music kind of transcends without substances of any kind.
Yes. Kind of the idea for me for our nonprofit came about that I was 21 years old, recently sober, and was a big Deadhead. So I'd been to 15 Grateful Dead shows up to that point, and I knew there was a sober support group inside the Grateful Dead concert called the Wharf Rats, and they've been around since like 83. So this was 1989, a 21-year-old kid, 45 days sober at a Grateful Dead concert. Very, not the best advice, but I found a sober community. It made sobriety cool, and that made this idea of staying sober a lot easier. And, fast forward, I'm now 31 years sober, and I've got kids, and I just thought, it's kind of ridiculous. There's no other culture, especially at some of these sporting events and some of the concerts, besides kind of this ecstasy lifestyle stuff that we see. And, thought it'd be a good idea to set up a nonprofit to see if we can show people how to have fun sober. Now it's been 3 years, and we just had our 69th event. We've had over 5,000 people join us. We've had over 43,000 people join us virtually. Last summer during COVID, had 3 virtual music festivals and had over 40,000 people watch us on Twitch, which was really cool. And had 130 artists over 3 months say, "Thank you, Sober AF Entertainment." So, and then we stitched in between the different musicians, some PSAs from like suicide prevention. We had the Attorney General of Colorado, the Attorney General of Utah. We had Miss America talk about kind of opioid overdoses, and she's a trained pharmacist. So, we're trying to figure out how do we, as a nonprofit, do some education also for our community.
Oh, that's wonderful, Duke. Really, really thankful for what you're doing for the community here. What was your 69th event? What was the last one?
So the one we just did was down in Pueblo, and it's called This Is Not LA, This Is Pueblo, and it's a punk rock / metal music festival. So we were down there, and we contacted some local recovery community organizations. And as a sponsor, we got free tickets. We offered free tickets to these communities, and it was kind of a fun event. And, the week before we were at Country Jam. So it's kind of funny just seeing the different range of music genres and people in recovery looking for some support. The week before that, we did a Rockies game, and we had 618 people sit in a sober section together at the Rockies on a Friday night. We had the owner of the Rockies come and speak at the event, so that was really cool. We had a person in long-term recovery sing the national anthem, and she told this story beforehand how 25 years previously, during the inaugural season of the Rockies, she got asked to sing the national anthem, and she was so drunk she couldn't get out of her closet. And she had so much guilt and shame, she moved from Denver. And she's now 24 years sober and gets this opportunity to kind of slay a dragon of, the fear of singing the national anthem again. So she told that story at the tailgate beforehand, and then went in and just killed it. Did a great job singing the national anthem. So that was really cool. We had some local other recovery community organizations speak at the event. We had young people in recovery speak at it. We had a group talk about peer support specialists. We had a couple local leaders speak about Juneteenth, because it was on the 18th of June. And that whole week was Juneteenth. So we had some education on that front, just trying to build a bigger tent.
That just gave me the chills on so many levels, hearing the story of the woman that sang the national anthem 24 years later, 25 years later. And sobriety is an everyday event, in so many people's lives. It really is that one day at a time mentality and approach. And you were just speaking about Juneteenth, and I couldn't help but think there of the intergenerational trauma in so many ways that also, leads into addiction and, ultimately, recovery. But having these containers where it's safe to enjoy life and to be able to talk about it is truly a service that should be applauded. So super, super grateful for what you're doing. And it sounds like people are coming out in droves to enjoy these events with your organization.
Yeah, it's great we get to throw the party, but it's more important that people show up for it. So, we respect the venues that we go to and appreciate the opportunity to do something like this there. I'm trying to kind of connect the sober curious and the recovery community to these events. And it's a pretty foreign idea for a lot of people still. Kind of like a no smoking section was a pretty foreign idea, 40 years ago. And that's kind of what it feels like as we're trying to come up with this idea of why is there not a sober section for people who don't want to be around either the whiskey drunk guy or, they kind of want to be around a community of people who are, and a little more into wellness or into sobriety. So it's a pretty large group of people and I think kind of it's a new culture shift that we're seeing with the younger generation.
Absolutely. That's a really interesting idea, Duke. The idea of actually having sober sections. I can imagine now with your latest event at the Rockies game, the one in June, having 642 people or whatever it was in a section and being like, oh, wow, there's an actual sober section at the sporting event. It's kind of a game changer if that can actually be implemented.
So because of that event, to your point, we are now beginning to get more of a national recognition. The New York Mets have reached out to us, so we're working with a sober section on August 31st in New York City for a Mets game. We're also working with the Miami Marlins. But college-wise, we've got a crazy sober college game day tour this fall where every weekend we're doing the largest football game in the country and setting up a sober tailgate outside the event. And then ideally we get a group of tickets discounted from the university for a sober section inside the venue. So the very first game of the year is Friday night, September 3rd. And we have North Carolina at Virginia Tech. Both schools have got a collegiate recovery community that are coming down. We're going to have a big screen TV tent. And then the university has given us some discounted seats or discounting some seats for us to be able to give to our community for a true sober section inside the venue. So really excited. Like that's kind of the perfect world, what we're trying to do. Some of the games are so popular that we can't get discounted seats, but we'll still have the sober tailgate and have the big screen TV. So everyone, instead of going into the game, can, find a little recovery support at the tailgate and watch the game there.
Wow. And so this really is becoming a national movement, even though you guys are located locally in Longmont, Colorado. This is a national organization at this point.
Correct. So in 2018, when we started, we did a couple of events outside of Colorado and found some cool partnerships. And then 2019, we did a full sober college game day tour nationally, trying to get partners and to find out, what else is out there in this space. It's a pretty simple idea, right? A sober section inside a venue and, a little recovery support beforehand. And there's a couple groups doing it for large music festivals. So if you go to a large music festival, look for Yellow Balloons, and that's recovery support. But there's really nobody doing it at both sporting events and at concerts and at music festivals. So that is our mission, is to, create sober fun at these events. And we've been really blessed that, we've been given a lot of spaces at some upcoming music festivals. And I mentioned some that we've recently done. So we've been, trying to perfect what we do over the last 3 years, because we think we're ready and it's wanted on a national scale. We want to be kind of the landing spot for people who are looking for some sober fun all over the country.
That's great, Duke. Being that we're a peak-to-peak region, Netherland, all the way to Estes Park up there in the mountains. Do you guys have any events set up in the mountains of Colorado this summer? Or is there a way, if people listening to this podcast are interested in setting up an event with you guys, what's the protocol there?
So their closest event, I guess, that we do would probably be in Boulder, Fort Collins, and Denver. I mentioned Country Jam. That was in Grand Junction. So we've done a couple events in Grand Junction. We haven't done anything in Estes Park yet. There is a couple other recovery communities that do have events in Estes Park. I know there's an International Overdose Awareness Day event in Estes Park on August 22nd. But for that community, I would say come to Boulder on October 2nd. We have 1,000 seats in a sober section for the University of Colorado playing USC in a football game. And we've got a rooftop party with their collegiate recovery community beforehand. So if you want to get your mind blown, 1,000 people sitting together in a sober section at a college football game, especially in Boulder, is probably the closest event. New West Fest is a free music festival in Fort Collins. And in the past, we've had a sober section inside that venue. So that's another one to go online. You can also check our website, which is soberafe.com, and then kind of see upcoming events. Because of COVID and a lot of festivals, not sure if they were going to happen or how many tickets we'd be able to get. We've really kind of struggled getting much of a schedule together. Up until right about now, we're finally having some people confirm. On the 3rd of September, we're also partnering with Colorado State University. So they have a collegiate recovery community that wants to do a sober tailgate for their first game of the year. So that's up in Fort Collins. So all of our events are free. Typically, we try to get tickets discounted, and then there's a link on our website to be able to get these discounted seats. So August 22nd, we've got another Rockies game. We'll have the owner of the Rockies speak at it. We're going to have a state senator speak at it also. So you go to the website, you can see that there'll be a link there. You can purchase tickets that way. The tailgate beforehand is free. It's a Sunday, so it's really our first Sunday event. So we're doing a Sunday fun day tailgate beforehand. Anyways, it'll be a fun event. And, ideally, how do we get hundreds of people together is really our goal. Like, how do you make it epic? If it's 50 people, it's not as epic as if you have 250 people. And how do you get 500 people? And that's really our goal, is for you to be able to find this a little recovery support where you want to have fun.
Yeah, you're sort of building an organism of sobriety, that is having fun, building a culture of sober fun. That's what you guys are all about. Sober AF Entertainment, located in Longmont, Colorado. My guest today is Duke Rumley. It's been really nice chatting with you today, and really, really appreciate the work you're doing in the world. My name's Dango Rose. This is The Mountaineer, everybody's listening podcast, and we'll be hearing you real soon.
Thanks, Dango and Duke.
Brightwood Music in Nederland will restring and repair your favorite stringed instrument. Brightwood Music also carries many lines of all your favorite mandolins, violins, guitars, cellos, mountain dulcimers, basses, and bouzouki's, as well as all of your favorite band and orchestra instruments for the local school districts. Brightwood Music is family-owned and operated. It has been a Nederland staple for more than a decade. They are located at 20 East Lakeview Drive, Unit 109, in Nederland, and can be reached at 303-258-8863, or you can find them on Facebook at Brightwood Music.
The Nederland Mining Museum is now open. The Nederland Mining Museum offers a glimpse into the world of hard rock mining days in Boulder County. Indoor and outdoor displays of trams, ore carts, engines, historic photographs, and rare mining clay maps show how miners lived and how hard rock mining played a part in Colorado's history. Learn all about the museums of Boulder County Parks and Open Space at bouldercountyopenSpace.org/museums.
For our final story this week, it's back to Jamie Lammers, talking with the Central City Opera. Take it away, Jamie.
My name is Gail Bransteitter, and I am the Director of Marketing and Communications at Central City Opera.
I hear you guys have been trying to work on an opera this summer?
Yeah, so we have our annual Summer Opera Festival going right now. We are doing 2 productions of the musical Carousel by Rodgers and Hammerstein, and then we're also doing Verdi's Rigoletto. We're actually performing both of these operas at Hudson Gardens in Littleton. And then we have some additional events going on at the Central City Opera Garden. So everything's outside this summer, so we're safe for COVID, as even though we're improving and getting back to normal, we're still having fun outside. It's been a fun challenge for sure for us. It's been different but exciting, because last year we had to cancel our full festival, so we're just so thrilled to be back at it when a lot of companies are not really starting back up with performances until October. So yeah, it's been great. We have performers from all over the country and all over the world. We have a young artist program, so some rising talent from bachelor and master's and conservatory schools are performing, and then we have professionals from all around the world in our cast. We have a really strong training program that we're really proud of, and it's always fun to see someone who maybe started in a smaller role in a production become a huge talent and go on to perform at places like the Met. It's always really fun to see and be a part of their career journey.
Are there any special steps you've had to take this summer in order to get around COVID regulations or just get back into the swing of the festival?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just the fact that we're doing the whole thing outside has completely a fun challenge and unique challenge for us, because we typically perform in all of our properties up in Central City. So we are in the Opera House typically, but because it's a small 500-seat house and it's a very historic building, some of the COVID protocols and best practices we couldn't quite put into place in order to give us enough space and all of those things that are required for us for COVID. So that's why we made the decision to perform outside, because it gives us the opportunity to do what we love. But some of the directors have had to do some creative staging with 6 feet and the social distancing in place. So they have tried to embrace that in the way that they've presented the work that they're doing. We've had to do a lot of masking and when we're in indoor spaces and rehearsals, which has been challenging for our performers, but they are very excited to perform outside maskless when they're doing the actual performances. So yeah, there's been a variety of things that we've done, but mainly I would say just being outside is the biggest thing we've altered from our regular operations.
And you've mentioned that the people that are involved in this festival come from all across the country and from all different places.
So all of our performers live in Central City for this summer. So Central City Opera owns historic properties so we can house our performers and our company members and directors and creative teams. They are all living up in Central City, and then they commute to Hudson Gardens in Littleton for the performances that are down there. It's kind of like an adult summer camp with some opera performers, and anytime you walk down the street in Central City, someone has their window opening and they're rehearsing, so it's just a fun summer experience where the town is full of music. A lot of people in the arts industry, I think it's been since mid-March in 2020 where everything kind of shut down. So for a lot of our company members and a lot of our directors, they're returning to their jobs, which is so exciting. And I know a lot of them have just been overwhelmed at the experience of singing in front of people again, instead of singing in front of a computer or a Zoom or some of those virtual events that we all have participated in over the past 18 months. So it's very exciting for everyone involved to have that live theatrical experience again. As much as we have tried to stay connected through Zoom, I think people were just getting burnt out from all the virtual stuff, and just having something celebratory and something to look forward to and be around other people in a safe environment has just been so fun and exciting for everyone to be a part of.
When did you guys start rehearsal, and when are you planning to end up performing?
We start rehearsal right after Memorial Day, that first week of June. So we rehearse for a month, and then our performances have already begun, and they end on August 1st. So it's a 2-month blur of rehearsing and performing, and we're just going every single day. So yeah, performances have started. We opened Carousel on the 3rd, and that runs through August 1st. And then Rigoletto opened on Saturday, and it was wonderful, and it runs through the 30th. And then we will start our Central City productions. We are doing Dido and Aeneas. That starts on Saturday. And then we are also doing al fresco concerts with some of our performers, and that starts this coming Tuesday. So there's a lot of different events going on. So that's Tuesday the 13th.
Has there been anything unique about this experience for you in planning out the outdoor festival and seeing everything coming back together? And I don't know, what's been most unique about it for you?
It's definitely a different experience. You know, Central City Opera and the history that we have in performing in the Opera House is definitely something special that we all are excited to return next summer. But being outside and being a part of a company that is trying to find creative solutions to every challenge that we come across has been really fun to be a part of and to watch. We've been dealing with rainstorms, and now we have all this heat, and, you know, there's a lot of unpredictability when you're performing outside versus a more controlled environment indoors. That's been really fun to witness. And just talking with some of our patrons and people who we haven't seen or talked to or interacted with in a year has also been really rewarding and fulfilling. So I think just being a part of it and back to the art that we're here to create has been so fulfilling. If you're interested in learning more, our website has tons of information about the festival. There are tickets still available, and there's a whole FAQ section that lets you know some recommendations on what you should bring with you. Because we're outside, people can bring, you know, picnics and food and drink and enjoy the outdoor environment while watching the show, and definitely trying to encourage people to bring things to be prepared for the weather. But yeah, you can just learn more at centralcityopera.org and find out all the information about everything that's going on for the rest of this month.
Thanks, you two, for the updated information about Central City Opera Down the Hill and summer shows in the Central City Opera Garden.
That's all for this week's episode of the Mountaineer Podcast. All editions of the Mountaineer Podcast are available at our website at www.themountaineer.com.
Pick up this week's edition of The Mountaineer in Netherland at New Moon Bakery, B&F Mountain Market, the Train Cars Coffee and Yogurt Company, Ace Hardware, Brightwood Music, The Mine Shaft, Quick Mart, Netherland Visitors Center, Ned's Cafe, Mountain Man Outdoor Store, Backcountry Pizza, or Blue Owl Books. You can also pick it up in Gilpin County at Roy's Last Shot, Underground Liquor, Taggart's, Base Camp, Annie Oakley's Emporium, or Eagles Mart. And in Northwest Boulder County at Ferncliff Food and Fuel, Meadow Mountain Cafe, Jack Lager's Mercantile, Jamestown Mercantile, the Gold Hill Store, and of course, the Gold Hill Inn.
And go online to www.themountaineer.com to catch up on more local news. I'm Doug Armitage.
And I'm Barbara Hardt. Until next time, thanks for listening.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak-to-Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.